Hello race fans and welcome to the MotorMotion Surefire V8 Supercars series. We are here at round 3. Now our sponsors Surefire, they provide unique solutions to your signage and display needs. From business cards and stickers to factory signage and vehicle wraps, they can make you stand out. So make sure you visit www.shawfire.com.au. The proud and official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series V8 Supercars. Tonight in the commentary box, we've got Nick Pautasso and Spud, the Golden Voice. We are here in France at St. Croix B. A lap around here is 7 kilometers long with 14 turns to navigate. The drivers will have 19 laps to prove their mettle. The qualifying has been set. So as we go through the order, we've got Kutscher in first place, Austin in second, Rick in third, Brun in fourth. We've got Rushton in fifth, Pearce in sixth, Robinson seventh, and Sampson in eighth. We've got Britnell in ninth, Marty Scarborough in 10th, Kentwell in 11th, and Dylan Scarborough in 12th. 13th we've got March, 14th Craig Burgers, and 15th Benjamin Blaker, rounding out our field tonight. Make sure you're sharing us on all of the socials with the hashtag Light It Up. We want to see you guys supporting us as much as we want to give you this amazing content. So as I pass over now, live to the replay, we've got our main commentator, Spud.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to the Surefire Supercar Series presented to you by MotorMotion. Kutch on pole, Austin in second place as those 5 red lights are about to go out. And we are lights out, green flag races. Kutch has got a brilliant start, but Osto is going to go side by side with him. He's got a better launch, second phase, and he's going to put himself into the lead. But let's wait and see what we got into turn 1. Can Osto go around the outside of Kutch? He's got a little bit more traction compared to the inside that Kutch has got, but Roddy Dogs has come from out of nowhere from position 6 up to P3, and it's going to go side by side with his own teammate for P2, and Austin has taken the lead. Your championship leader has relegated himself down to second, now third. Roddy Dogs is all shapes and forms. We see a bit of contact coming from the background from some of the back markers. We'll find out who they are very shortly, but Roddy Dogs is still going side by side with his teammate, and Squirrel right behind him in P4 as they start to settle in single file. We've got Roddy Dogs third, Squirrel 4, Madrick, who had a really good qualifying in position 3, is now in 5th place, and they're going side by side. Roddy Dogs, Squirrel, and Madrick going all vying for P3, while Hellblazer, the first of the Mustangs, in 6th place. Ruzzy right behind him in 7th place, and Viper Balding inside the top 8. Riz Lightning for It's Racing Esports in 9th, and then Marty McFarlane the first of the Scarborough Motorsports Dunlop Mustangs in 10th place, while followed by his Uncle Mark, literally his uncle, in 10th and 11th place, and then Marchie, the first of the Intercontinental Esports Mustangs, in 12th. Behind him is his teammate Benjamin Blaker, Benjo, with a different livery compared to what Marchie's got, but they're both in the same team, so it's brand new colours for ISA Esports in the car 51, with Benjo running around as he goes wide. He doesn't take that corner brilliantly. Oh, he's going to almost go lose the car, and Robbo almost comes into contact yet again. That would have been twice in a row for Robbo Sport in 14th place. He had an incident with Squirrel 18 last time out at Dragon Trail Seaside, and Robbo has been into the thick of wars again, going from P7 to P14, so not the best opening lap for Robbo. With a half second penalty, he'll need to burn that quickly. It's not, you don't lose too much time with a half second penalty, but Robbo's going to eliminate that, and he'll settle for 13th place. But at the conclusion of lap 1, you have your race leader, Osto 101, the man that was in form at Dragon Trail Seaside, took it all the way to Kutch 426 with Black Rose Racing, Ned versus Black Rose. In second, Squirrel, who was your championship leader at the conclusion of round 1 at Red Bull Ring, will be looking at the rear, is going to be looking really hard at that rear wing of Black Rose Racing 426, and wants to take back that championship lead if he can, and will do what by all means possible to try and get himself ahead of Kutch 426. And then Roddy Dongs in P4, a brilliant, we're seeing a much better form with Roddy Dongs after his flawed race, after his what we can say, not so recommended antics at Red Bull Ring, unfortunately, for Roddy Dongs, but he cleaned his act, and his team boss, Jimmy Superfly, had a bit of a word with him, and we can definitely see now with his performances for Black Rose Racing Camaro, he's been doing himself wonders, and is sitting in P4. So, brilliant start by everybody, not too many incidents to report, which is really good. Magic just runs a little bit wide going onto this long neck back straight. Magic in P5. He'll be wanting to get that long neck ready with his Jack Daniels Racing Camaro, trying to fend off from that Rushfire Mustang. The first of the Mustangs, it was Hellblazer, now it's Ruzzy in 6th place. We look to make a move on Magic as we go on board with Ruzzy. No, he's going to stick behind. Oh, he's actually stuck the nose in, and he's actually made the move there. So Magic a little bit hesitant on the brakes, but they're still going side by side. Is Ruzzy and Magic as we try to go for an exterior view, but it looks like Ruzzy has just made the move on Magic. Yes, he has. So he's now in 5th place, but Magic's going to come right back on his rear wing. But looks like Ruzzy's just able to hold on and will keep that 5th place. And Briz Lightning has actually made up a couple of positions since the start into P7. Making that move on Hellblazer. So Hellblazer really struggling to find the opening, to find the grip in his Bottle-O Mustang Diffusion Engineering, Racing Engineering Ford Bottle-O in 8th place, right behind the It's Racing Esports Camaro, as we saw Rushfire run a little bit wide in turn 1, and Briz Lightning is right on his tail. He won't look to make a move just yet. It is the early stages of the laps. We're on lap 3 of 19, but it looks like Russ has just run wide. A little bit of lag between the two drivers, but all looks pretty clean. And Brizzy just holds on to P7 and not coming under sorts of pressure from Hellblazer. So it's a very tight battle pack for the battle for 5th place. As we look down the order, let's look down towards the guys that are sitting just outside the top 10. So we have a yellow flag, and that is Roddy Dongs. So no, this is not what people wanted to see from Roddy Dongs. So Roddy Dongs has had a massive accident going onto the bridge. It is very easy to do, ladies and gentlemen. It is not the easiest corner to navigate. It is a lot of bumps, a lot of undulation through that corner. One little mishap on the throttle or the steering, and you are gone. So unfortunately for Roddy Dongs, it has all come to an end for him and car 9 for the Black Rose Racing. So Jimmy will be absolutely fuming of that incident, as we see Marty McFarlane pick himself a 2-second penalty. So very interesting to see if he actually passed under yellow flags or he took a corner cutting in turn 1. We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out later on in the race. But flyboarding for Juice Motorsport doing really well inside P9. Will he go for the one-stop strategy that he's been known to be famous for? Last time we saw that was Red Bull Ring. He's done really well to try and make that one-stop work, but unfortunately in the last round he couldn't make it work, and he just finished outside the top 10 as just really playing with that guardrail. And it just goes to show that it is really tricky as he goes wide and he makes contact with the barrier. Very unlucky for flyboarding. Only lost one position to Marty, but you've got the guys like Robbo and Uncle Mark looking to make moves as quickly as they can, as they will see a bit of damage come from flyboarding's Camaro. But Robbo, after seeing him get that half-second penalty on the end of lap 1, is already up back into 9th place. So very good recovery for Robbo Sport for the Fusion Racing Engineering. We've got Marchie in P12, then we have Benjo in 13th place, and then we have the late substitute as we see a car go off there. That looks like to be an ISA car. That is Marchie, so he looks like he's made a big mistake going into turn 3. His car was facing towards the barrier, and he's dropped all the way down to 15th place, so not the race that he wanted to have for Intercontinental Esports. And Roddy Dongs is looking to make a recovery drive. But as we go back to Burge, he's actually the late substitute and the late replacement for DP Mario. So DP Mario all of a sudden had to cancel, had to withdraw from his racing in the ShawFire Supercars series. And then the next in line was Burge. And he came through and he's flying the colours for Rushfire. Not getting involved in too many incidents. and City Pretting in 13th place, hoping to see him move up the field later on as the race concludes. But the field just looks like it's spread out quite nicely there as we look to, as usually within that top 5, we're looking to see quite a good battle pack there. So it looks like Austin is starting to run away a little bit from Kutch. He's gapping him a little bit. He's set himself a 205.2 with Kutch setting a 205.1 on the previous lap. But is Austin going to look for a fastest lap? He does, so 205 flat. And Kutch does not set a fastest lap, so Austin is looking really good to keep that P1 before the pit stop windows commences. So we're looking at about lap 8, lap 9 for our first pit window, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what strategies are going to come avail in the Johnson lobby, as we saw previously in the Brock lobby, where the likes of Ando 787 and Rolls can hardly pulled off a strategy masterclass and managed to put themselves into position 1 and 2, but nobody could stop Ando 787 from taking victory in the Brock lobby. Rolls can hardly in P2 for the debuting West End Mechanical in 2nd place, and then NMSR Spud in 3rd place, the first of the Camaros in 3rd place, rounding up the podium. It looks like it's going to be set for a Camaro podium unless we see the likes of Ruzzy and Hellblazer start to make moves as quickly as possible. They need to get themselves up towards the front because they're just letting these front 4 Camaros run away, with Magic actually keeping himself in 4th place. So for all the mess within all the chaos within the first few laps, Magic is still holding on to P4. So a really great performance by Magic, as we saw with his new teammate as well in Ryoff 217. He gave himself a really good positioning as well, and managed to do himself a brilliant job in P12 in the Brock lobby. So he did so well on his debut, and if you're looking to build that momentum coming into round 4, Magic's holding on nicely in 4th place, while Ruzzy, the leader of Rushfire Racing, in 5th, and coming all sorts under pressure from Hellblaze. He's picked up a little bit of more confidence in that Mustang now. So a little tweak in the roll bars, a little pep talk with his crew chief, just to keep him calm and just try and keep that car pointing in the right direction. And he's driving that car much better and holding on into 6th place, while Briz Lightning just sits behind, waiting to pounce on those Mustang mistakes and try and make it a Camaro top 5. Still early stages for our drivers to be thinking about a pit stop, but as I did say, strategies will become very crucial around this track. Pit loss with tyres and fuel, you're looking at about 25 odd seconds when it comes to the fuel strategy. So it's really important to try and save as much fuel as you can and keep those tyres lasting for as long as possible. Maybe make an extra lap amongst your competitors, and maybe you'll see the likes of Kutch and Squirrel go for that extra lap. Or you might even see one of them go for an undercut and go for the fresh tyres, as the undercut is proven to be very strong around this track. But going back to P1, Osto is losing a little bit of time there, as we see his front tyres are wearing out a little bit quick. But we're going to look on board with Kutch, and let's look at his tyre phase. It looks like he's got very similar tyre wear to Osto, but it looks like Kutch is able to manage his tyres just that little bit better and can get a little more life out of it compared to the confidence that we're seeing in the car 101 that is leading the race here at St. Croix B. Kutch for Black Rose Racing, and he's thinking about it. He's really trying to play. He's gone for a half spin, and that's Kutch's chance gone. As we give him the commentator's curse for the comment for Kutch 426, singing him all praises for what was going to be an assault and attack on Osto 101. He's bottled it at the end of the back straight, going into the right-hander. Too eager on the throttle, but this is where definitely Kutch can think about possibly doing an undercut, as he runs wide on the final corner as well, so he's just losing more and more time. He's not losing too much time to Squirrel. The Squirrel's not able to really keep up with the front 2. So Squirrel looks like he might just be able to hold on to P3 at the conclusion of this race. But as we say, you cannot rule out pit stops. You cannot rule out drivers making mistakes. here at this circuit. It's a very tricky track, as we see Ruzzy in the pit lane with 4 litres of fuel. Got to put himself a new fresh set of boots, and we'll go up there. We'll go for another stint on a full tank and soft tyres. Madrick is holding on very nicely in P4. It's definitely one of his best performances that we've seen in the ShawFire Supercars series, where Madrick hasn't really been able to show too much performance in his Camaro. He's been struggling a lot over the first couple of rounds. He did show a little bit of glimpse at Dragon Trail Seaside, but Madrick now for Jack Daniels Racing is putting on a really good performance, and his team boss will be very happy with his performance at the end of this race if he manages to keep P4. But so far, he can hold himself high, and it's a job well done for Madrick to put that car not only in P3 and jump the likes of Squirrel, who was the championship leader at the end of round 1, but to now solidify his position in P4 on lap 7 of 19. But we're not even at the halfway distance, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot more racing to go, as he's running on fumes, as I've just noticed that as well. So Madrick is really running on fumes. So he's going to really struggle to get back into the pit lane. Now, that must be like on 1% of fuel in Madrick's car. So car 28, Jack Daniels Racing Camaro is going to really struggle to make it into the pit lane, as we can see he's short shifting the car just to really get it back into the pit lane. But thankfully for him, the back end of the St. Croix B is really quick, and the pit lane shows up as he's just run out of fuel going into the pit lane. So Hellblazer, this is his chance. He's caught up behind him, and they're going to go. Oh, they're almost collided, the two drivers. So Hellblazer and Madrick nearly collided in the pit lane. But wow, you can see the huge difference in fuel differences with fuel numbers. Osto's about to come out of the pit lane with a fresh set of tyres and clear air. Kutch in second place. Squirrel will be behind in third place, but he's come really close to Kutch 426. He only put 81 litres of fuel, so this is a strategy call that the Gridline Racing Motorsport driver is looking to play with Kutch 426. Can he make the move? He needs to pass him to make the strategy work. He's got a lighter tank. Obviously, he's got fresher tyres, just the same as Kutch, but he doesn't want to be stuck behind him too long, because he wants to be ahead of him and wants to get himself charging towards Osto 101 for the lead. But then again as well, it'll be very crucial for Squirrel to stay behind Kutch 426 as well, saving tyres, saving fuel. You just don't know what's going on with the mind of these drivers here, ladies and gentlemen. This is why the ShawFire Supercar Series is the place to be on a Tuesday night here in Australia. You definitely want to be hanging out with these guys. There's a great community here in MotorMotion E-Series. We'd like to thank you so much for presenting this series, sponsored by ShawFire, and bringing out our Supercars Camaro versus Mustang, just like the real world racing, where we're going to see the Supercars, Repco Supercars, running the Camaro and Mustang Gen 3 for the first time as they hit the streets of Newcastle, New South Wales on March 10 to 12. We can't wait to see what their cars will look like. Hopefully something very similar to the action that we're seeing here in your screens, live and free on YouTube. So Squirrel really starting to lose a little bit of touch to Kutch 426 there, as he just had a bit of a half slide, and Kutch is able just to gap him just that little bit more. And your championship leader in P2 has lost sight of Osto 101, who's coming through onto the last corner as we go for an onboard lap with the man that is leading the race, Osto 101, the leader, coming onto lap 9 of 19. Plenty more racing to go, but sit back, grab a beer, grab a drink, and enjoy a hot lap with Osto and Ned Racing. just a work of art that is for Osto 101, taking us through a lap of Saint-Croix, being located on the French Riviera in France, down the south. It's beautiful to see the blue and black. Ned Racing gracing the skies and gracing the Riviera with his color scheme and really matching the scenery. A beautiful, bright, sunny day here. You cannot get anything better here in France, and with the French Alps in the foreground, it is such a beautiful sight to see. As Osto's just gone past the halfway mark, and he's still leading Couch 426 Black Rose Racing, putting himself in really good contention of taking the overall victory this evening. His first victory in MotorMotion E-Series. We cannot wait to see. We cannot wait to see if he can get the champagne bottles out. Obviously, touch wood, because we haven't finished the race, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to get myself ahead. I'm just really cheering for Osto 101 to give it a go and get his first victory in MotorMotion E-Series. The guy deserves it. We've seen a lot of hard work going in the managerial positioning with Osto and Ned Racing, as well as being part of the admin in MotorMotion E-Series, and he's done a lot of hard work in the background, especially providing us and the viewers with beautiful quality stream that you are seeing here live and free on YouTube, and it'll just be a great reward for Osto 101 to get a victory here in MotorMotion ShawFire Supercars. But Squirrel holding on to P3, he's well clear of the guys in P4, but Ruzzy and Hellblazer 4th and 5th place. That looks like there could be a bit of a battle going on. Ruzzy is just holding on to, is well ahead of Hellblazer in 5th place. And Madrick must have had a mistake on the lap that we were running on the previous lap, so he went from 4th down to 6th place. As something happened, as we see it on the lap times, we see a 2:09 on lap 8. So something must have happened to that Jack Daniels Racing. Maybe an off, maybe a penalty, which is not too sure. But he's holding on to 6th place, while we see the It's Racing Esports Briz Lightning in 7th place. Then Marty McFarty is coming through the pack for the first Scarborough Motorsport Mustangs in 8th place, and then Robbo Sport in 9th, and then Flyboarding, the one stopper in 10th place. Unfortunately, not looking to go for that one stop, as he looks like he has made a pit stop on lap 7, so that ruins his chances of doing the one stop. And then Roddy Dongs trying to come back for a recovery drive as high up as P2 at one point on the opening lap. So he came in with a lot of confidence, putting that car inside the top 5, and Roddy Dongs came through, getting his car up into P2 at the early stages, but unfortunately on lap 4 ruined his chances by running a little bit too wide and hitting the wall, hitting the Armco just before the bridge, and dropped him all the way down to 15th and last place. But as I do say that, we're only down to 14 runners. So from what I heard in the from the comms, we did hear that Intercontinental Esports driver Brendan March from ISA has unfortunately had to retire from the race due to some technicality, due to some mechanical faults with his Mustang. And what I'm hearing from our pit reporters and our personnel down on the pit lane, that he's actually left the track, but he's left the track in anger. So something must have really gone down and really transpired in that ISA Mustang. So something we'll be following up those developments as the series just before the broadcast ends. But unfortunately for Intercontinental Esports, there's only one driver, that is Benjo, in 14th, and unfortunately in last place. The brand new color scheme that they're running at Intercontinental Esports, unfortunately they're going to have one driver that's down in 14th and last place, so not big points going towards ISA at the end of this race, and a bit of a head scratcher of what is going on with that team in this race. So all developments will come through as we get more information, but we're on lap 11 of 19 as we start to think about the second phases of the pit window. We did see Squirrel 18 underfuel his car, just get himself ever so close to Couch 426, but he's losing a bit of ground, he's losing a bit of touch, and losing his chance to get near Couch 426. So he'll be coming in for an unscheduled pit stop sooner or later. Hellblazer running very nicely in P5, so there's a good gap between all the top 5. So the top 5 really well spread out, even the top 6, 7, I would say probably Marty and Robert would be the closest battle from what I can see on the track map. As we run down through the order, going into turn 3, Hellblazer is just exiting turn 1, same with Madrick, and then Briz Lightning as well, exiting turn 1. So it looks like looks like Marty and Robbo is the closest battle that we have on track. The battle for 8th place. So Robbo versus Marty McFarty. So the two drivers actually were part of Scarborough Motorsports in the late stages of last year in 2022, back in the track racer GT3 Championship, where we saw Robbo competing in the Pro-Am class and we saw Marty competing in the amateur class, both under the same team banner. As we see now, the battle pack has gone from a 2-car to a 3-car battle pack, with Chris Lightning struggling in that opening, in that first sector. And we're going to see a Camaro come under pressure from 2 Mustangs, one from Scarborough Motorsport and one from Diffusion Engineering. So yeah, or as we see Robbo thinking about a peek down the inside of his former boss in Scarborough in 8th place. So the two former teammates have now gone their separate ways. Robbo to Diffusion, Marty staying on as the lead as one of the lead drivers for Scarborough Motorsport. Marty just getting all sorts of out of shape, but Robbo right in the clutches of that rear wing of car 22 as we go on board with Robbo Sport. He's going to make a move, come down the back straight. Will he think about that move? Will he think about the late move on Marty McFarty? No, just rolls out of it, just saves a little bit of fuel, bit of lifting and coasting for Robbo, but he gets himself a really nice entry and exit and is really applying the pressure to Marty in 8th place, while they just unfortunately let Briz Lightning just pull away. Marty's looking too much in the rear view instead of looking ahead, and unfortunately it's costing him time, but now he's got a bit more of a gap now, so Robbo's struggling in the windy sections of the last sector at St. Croix B, and Marty's now putting the pressure back on Briz Lightning. This is a brilliant race for P7, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, the top 6 are just running away and running their own races, but the battle for P7 is on as we see Ruzzy in the pit lane. So this will be his final stop, coming in with 11 litres of fuel. He's going to be filling himself up to the end, but it'll be very tight when it comes to the end of this Grand Prix. And he'll want to try and make sure he keeps that P4. He's worked really hard to get that P4. And it would mean so much for the man at Brushfire, who came in on very late notice at round 1 at Red Bull Ring, and unfortunately haven't been able to get the proper setups for their Mustangs come the opening 2 rounds. But now this time round, if he gets himself back into the top 4, he'll be really happy, and the team at Brushfire will be very happy, as Briz Lightning is coming all sorts of under pressure from Marty. Marty going around the outside, going onto the bridge section. That's really unheard of. But Marty is going to come through. He's got a little bit more straight line speed compared to the It's Racing Camaro. Can he go later on the brakes on Briz Lightning? It looks like to be going for that inside move. Briz Lightning gives him a bit of space. They're going to go side by side. Marty holds the inside. Briz still holding around the outside, and they're going to open up an opportunity for Robbo Sport to come through. So these guys are battling too much, but Marty around the outside. He's just got onto the marbles, and they're still going side by side. Here's Scarborough versus It's Racing, but here comes Robbo Sport right behind, sitting in the rear wing of the Scarborough Motorsport, going to get a double slipstream, and will look to think about making a double overtake, but looks like Marty's just pulled through, and he's up into P6. Will Briz Lightning lose 2 positions in a span of 2 corners? Robbo's thinking about an inside move, and he has. So the 2 Mustangs have made the move on the Camaro, and unfortunately for Briz Lightning, in the span of 2 corners, has gone from 6th place. A brilliant racing between him and Marty. Unfortunately, relegates himself down to 8th place. And that was brilliant racing by the team boss in Marty McFarty at Scarborough Motorsport, and Robbo done equally a great job to follow him and try. As we see both now Marty and Briz Lightning into the pit lane, but Robbo stays out for another lap, so he's good for another lap on the tyres. He's got some good tyres as well, so good amount of fuel in his car, and some pretty decent tyres in that Diffusion Racing. So the guys at Diffusion have been working really hard on getting that car set up properly, and even especially on the tyre wears, and even especially on Hellblazer's Mustang here, they've been working really hard with the fuel saving. He's done a brilliant job, but he's picked himself a 1.5 second penalty. I'm not so sure where that came from. It's definitely not crossing the pit line, but Hellblazer gives himself a 1.5 second. Will come under a little bit of pressure from Roddy Donks, but Roddy Donks is on some worn tyres, and he'll be making his pit stop at the end of this lap. But we are very, very close to the end, as we see the top 3 still holding on to their position. Squirrel did come in for a pit stop, but he's nowhere near these guys as Kutch is actually now closed up on Osto. So last time we saw it, Osto was pulling away from Kutch 426. So it looks like the Black Rose Racing Mustang is a little bit better on the lower tank and the worn tires compared to Osto 101, as we did see that Osto is running very aggressive on the front tires compared to Kutch 426. So Kutch is able to save his tires just that little bit better. Is able to turn that car in and use a little bit more of that car speed through the corners to his advantage. But as we see with the fuel numbers, Osto's on 7%, Kutch is on 4%, so we'll still see Osto 101 come out of the lead, but it just depends how much fuel Kutch 426 puts in that Black Rose Racing Camaro. Will he underfuel the car just to get in the lead? Will Osto still be able to keep the lead? Can Squirrel do anything to catch up? As we see Osto 101 come out of the pit lane with 70 litres, still holds the lead. Kutch 75 litres, so there's a difference, ladies and gentlemen. You save a bit of fuel, you get a bit of an advantage, and Osto 101 has done that perfectly. He's judged that to perfection, but it's only about 5 laps to go here at this Grand Prix. It's going to be between Ned Racing and Black Rose Racing for the top step, just like it was at Dragon Trail Seaside last weekend, where we saw that a change in championship leader in Kutch 426 for Black Rose Racing in second. But will still maintain the lead of the championship if he keeps that P2 and Osto wins the Grand Prix. Unfortunately for Squirrel, not able to fight Kutch 426, so he'll settle in for 3rd place, barring any mistakes from the front 2 drivers or for the guys behind him. Ruzzy's come through, still holding on to P4, so that undercut has worked really nicely on his strategy, but he will be going really hard on the tire saving and fuel saving as well. So he'll be a little bit worried about his fuel and tire management, as we saw Hellblazer go in a lap later. So he's got a lap fresher tires than the Rushfire manager in Ruzzy in 4th place. So wait for a battle to brew between those 2 drivers. But as I do see there as well, RoboSport has actually jumped Marty in the pit lane. So RoboSport running that extra lap, that overcut has worked perfectly for RoboSport, and he's actually got the jump on Scarborough Motorsports' Marty McFardy, the team leader of the Dunlop Tyre Camaro Mustang, in 8th place, and Briz Lightning hanging around the back in 9th place. He did get overtaken by those 2 Mustangs only 2 laps ago, but unfortunately he's still holding on to P9. It doesn't look like he's going to make any challenges towards the Mustangs up front unless there is a major mistake with one of them, either Marty or RoboSport. But it's going to be a nice battle towards the end. As we look down the rest of the grid, we have Flyboarding for Juice Motorsport having a bit of a quiet race inside the top 10, but a really nice solid top 10 for Flyboarding. And then we have Roddy Dongs in P11 after that off the bridge on lap 4. Uncle Mark in 12th place, and then Burge in 13th, and then we see Benjo in the pit lane sitting in 14th and last place, unfortunately, with the only DNF of the Johnson lobby here at round 3 going to Brenda March in the Intercontinental Esports Mustang. Looks like he just got lapped. He's definitely got lapped by the leaders there, so I'm not so sure what car lapped him there. So he might be a lap down, he may be a couple of laps down. We'll find out towards the end of the Grand Prix. But Osto going purple in sector 2, so the car's working very nicely on low fuel and fresh tires. So these guys will be trading fastest lap times with Kutch, setting out with 2:04.8, and Osto nearly 2/10 up at the end of sector 2 and going towards a long neck back straight. Osto 101 for Ned Racing leading the Grand Prix ahead of his rival in Kutch 426 from Black Rose Racing. Squirrel in 3rd place for Gridline Racing in 3rd. Ruzzy for Rushfire in 4th, and then Hellblazer in 5th for Diffusion Racing Engineering, and then Madrick for Jack Daniels Racing in 6th place. So it's great to see 6 teams inside the top 6, and that's a brilliant sight to see that it's not just one team that's dominating. You've got a lot of teams with great quality caliber drivers pushing themselves to the limit, and that's what we really encourage here in the ShawFire Supercar Series, really getting themselves out of their comfort zone, learn about the tuning, learn about how to drive these cars, because they're not easy to tame, ladies and gentlemen. But our drivers here in the Johnson Lobby are just doing just what we saw in the Brock Lobby, really going for it and going full centers. Also set himself the fastest lap of the race, so with no response from Croix 426 there, 205.6 and a 204.4, so he's smashing Croix 426 on that last lap. He put so much time on him, and also just looked like he was in the zone on lap 16, going on to lap 17 with 3 laps to go. Looks like it's going to be an easy, looks like it could be a comfortable victory. So Osto now, he's set himself the fastest lap, but he doesn't need to push it. He just needs to keep that car calm. He doesn't want to overdrive too much, because these cars are very easy to overdrive. Running just a little bit, a few extra meters late on the brake pedal, just applying the throttle a little bit too early to make the rear end happy. Anything can happen with this car. It's very unpredictable. So that's what Osto needs to do, just keep the car calm and just navigate it towards the finish line at the end of lap 19 of 19. But Osto doing a brilliant job. Kuch can still hold his head up high. Unfortunately, he did get pole position, so it's a bit of a switcheroo in positions with Kuch and Osto. Osto got a brilliant jump, a brilliant launch. The second phase looked to be so much better in the Net Racing 101, and he managed to pull around the outside and make a brilliant move to take the lead and never look back. Kuch did apply a lot of pressure on the man that leads Net Racing, but it looks like Osto's in a comfort zone and in the groove with about 2.25 laps to go. We're going to wait to see who crosses the line. Will it be Osto? Will it be Kuch? We'll find out at the end of lap 19. But looking back down the grid, we have Squirrel still holding on to P3, very comfortable. As you see on the track map, it's got a huge gap to the car in second, and a huge gap to third to fourth place in Ruzzy. So he'll keep his head up high. Another podium positioning for Squirrel, just falling short of the podium last time out at Dragon Trail Seaside, where he had a massive off on lap 2 through the S's, dropped himself all the way down to 15th and last place, and after a brilliant recovery drive, pushed himself up into P4 at the end of the Grand Prix. And he's doing himself a great job. So keeping that car, keeping the consistency inside that top 5 is the Gridline Racer in 3rd place. Ruzzy, his best performance for Rushfire Racing in 4th place. The latecomer, the late entrant for the ShawFire Supercar Series, doing himself a great job, and that car looks well dialed in the hands of Ruzzy. Hellblazer, a very solid, consistent improver in the Bottle Diffusion Mustang, holding on himself inside the top 5. So another great performance by Hellblazer and the team leader of Diffusion. And then Madrick as well can really hold his head up really high, qualifying 3rd, finishing in P6, but he can really be ecstatic with himself, and he can really take this momentum forward for the next round at Road Atlanta next Tuesday night. Robo Sport can definitely, after what was a podium at round 1 and then an unfortunate end to what could have been a good race for him at Dragon Trail Seaside, got caught up at the incident of lap 2 between himself and Squirrel, is done a lot better this time round. Got the jump over Marty in the pit lane and sitting pretty in P7. Marty sits in 8th, and then Bruise Lightning looks like he's going to put a little bit more pressure on Marty this time round in 9th place. So, and then we also have Roddydongs, so the recovery of Roddydongs inside the top 10. So this guy has a no-die attitude. He's a no-quit attitude, and he's bullshitting himself through, and he's got that Black Rose Racing inside the top 10, and he's doing a brilliant job, a brilliant recovery drive for Roddydongs. And the car 9, Black Rose Camaro with flyboarding in 11th. And then still Uncle Mark in 12th. Burge on making his debut in the ShawFire Supercar Series. Done himself really good. Set himself a 2:09 as a personal best, which is still a pretty decent lap in my books, I'd say, for your first time out. So keep your head up, Burge. And we can't wait to see you at Road Atlanta. And then unfortunately, Benjo sitting in 14th with two laps down on Osto 101, but we have approached the last lap, ladies and gentlemen, as we go back to our leader. What can you say about this man? he set himself some consistent paces. You see through his lap times. His lap times are incredible after that second pit stop. He set himself a 2:05.8, then a 2:04.4, 2:04.7, and a 2:05.1. His consistency is incredible. It's just his team is trying to tell him to slow down. He's going to run on fumes towards the end of this Grand Prix. And they're just trying to go over the radio, conserve fuel, just like we heard to Mark Dutton, to Jamie Whincup in the 2014 Bathurst 1000. So they're trying to tell him to conserve, because there he is, he's on the red. Osto doesn't really want to push the car on this last couple of sectors, but he's going to hold on to the victory. He's going to hold on to P1 if he executes the last couple of corners on the very marginal fuel tank that he's going to have. And then Kutch is going to be sitting nicely in P2. There he is. But he's not going to make any challenges to Osto 101, who looks like he's going to come through the last sector in the lead. So what looked to be a difficult start for Osto 101 and Ned Racing, but with his inspired performances from Kane Patton in Extreme NZer in the Brock Lobby, showing what that Camaro can do in the Ned Racing, and hiring himself some top quality engineer in Nax to get themselves through and to get that car well prepared. That's given Kane confidence to run inside consistently in the top 5, and now it's given Osto 101 the consistency to give him the victory here for round 3 of the ShawFire Supercars series. Goes to Osto 101, your victor here for round 3 for MotorMotion E-Series ShawFire Supercars. Congratulations to Osto and Ned Racing. Kutch 426, another podium for the man at Black Rose Racing. That's 3 from 3 for Kutch 426 for the runs on podiums. Mr. Consistency in the podiums in Kutch 426. Squirrel finishes in 3rd place, no doubt at all. But we've got to give our applause to Rozzy for Rushfire Racing, finishing in position 4, the first of the Mustangs, followed by another Mustang in Hellblazer for Diffusion Racing Engineering. Done a brilliant job there, and Madrick coming across the line in position 6. Great drive from him, and Robbo Sport following him behind in 7th place. It looks like Bruce Lightning did make the move on Martin McFarty on the last lap, and has gone through inside the top 8 with Marty in 9th, and then Roddy Dongs in 10th place. So brilliant drive by our guys here in the Johnson Lobby, brilliant performances. And it all goes for the congratulations to the man that is the leader of Ned Racing, Osto 101, as we see flyboarding cross the line, and then Uncle Mark, the last of the drivers, coming across the line in 12th, with Burge crossing the line in 13th, a lap down, and Benjamin Blacker finishing himself 2 laps down at the end of this Grand Prix. So the man, the focal point of this Grand Prix here for round 3 of the ShawFire Supercar Series goes to Osto 101. So this is what's going to be turning out to be a brilliant season in the Johnson Lobby. 3 races, 3 different winners, and we cannot wait to see what transpires in round 4 at the Road Atlanta Enduro coming up next Tuesday night, where we get to see Brock Lobby and Johnson Lobby go head-to-head for what is going to be the longest race in the MotorMotion E-Series calendar. 70 minutes around Road Atlanta, very quick lap times, very tricky track to negotiate, but we're going to see some awesome racing in both lobbies, and we cannot wait to bring the action to you live and free on the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channel. And we also got to keep as we're going to keep the credits going, we're going to have Squirrel come through into P3, so nice, brilliant job for him, keeping that car in position 3, so a good run for him. 3 rounds, 3 top 5s, 2 podiums, and a win as well for Squirrel, the driver for Gridline Racing, and then a great performance by Rushfire's Rozzy in 4th place. You've got to give him really, really good credit to get that to be the first Mustang inside the top 5 as well. What looked to be a very dominant Camaro circuit, with as early as lap 4 and 5, where we saw 5 Camaros in the top 5. We thought we were going to see a Camaro whitewash in that top 5, but Rozzy and Hellblazer, they fought through, they didn't give up, and they came through and delivered the goods in the Johnson Lobby here at St. Croix. But just before we conclude our broadcast here, we'd like to bring in your race winner of the ShawFire Supercars series, and that is going to be Osto 101, Joel Austin. Mate, congratulations on that victory.
Thanks, Spud. Thanks for having me, mate.
How was that? How was it after what looked to be a brilliant start for you? That second phase of the launch looked to be really good on your car, and then you got it to go around the outside of turn one, and just from turn two, three onwards, you just didn't look back.
Yeah, look, things just hooked up for me off the start. I got to credit that win to actually qualifying in second. That outside run that I had around Kutch, once I got in front, that was it. I think if I had been behind, I might have struggled, got a bit frustrated, and maybe made a mistake like what happened before in round two. Um, but yeah, honestly, it was nerve-wracking. Absolutely, every single corner of every single lap, I was pushing that car with everything I had.
Yeah, and we definitely saw it, especially on those last few laps there, that you're going really trying to go for that fastest lap and you're trying to keep that consistency. But as soon as that red light showed up, it just brought me flashbacks to the 2014 Supercars Championship with Whincup and Mostert going on to the final lap of the Bathurst 1000. And and you just got your race engineer just shouting at you, conserve fuel, and you're and all of a sudden I heard apparently you just decided to unplug the radio and just not listen to them.
Yeah, look, I know I was going to be running lean towards the end of it. We done a lot of practice and testing, and I knew that I could get pretty much to the end there, right on 1% fuel remaining. Um, the yelling in the ear set. Look, these guys have my best interest at heart. They've made this car absolutely beautiful for me here, and I knew I had enough to get to the end. And even if I thought I was going to come a bit close, I had that gap. So I just thought unplugging it and concentrating and sucking in that moment, my first win ever at MotorMotion, was just the best thing I could do for myself.
Absolutely, and with that victory and your teammate Extreme's performances, that's actually propelled you and your teammate Ned Racing to the top of the standings in the team's constructors. So big
Oh,
congratulations on that, my friend.
oh no way! I didn't even know. That's amazing. Congratulations, Kane, mate. Fifth place. Well done. That's Ned Racing for number one. Yeah, baby.
As we have an ecstatic Osto 101 coming through, and he's going to be celebrating with his teammate once they get together. He's going to have to cross over the pond to go to New Zealand, or it might be the other way around. Maybe I've got to get Kane to come down here, come over to visit you up north in Queensland.
Mate, he's welcome anytime, and as soon as we can get some flights sorted, I'll be there. Oh, what a celebration! Look, mate, I hate to cut you short. I'll leave you to do your thing. I'm gonna go and get on video chat with Kane, mate, and we're gonna dance until we drop, mate. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Osto, for taking your first victory in MotorMotion E-Series and for the Surefire Supercar Series here at St. Croix. You definitely deserve it. You took the lead at the end of turn two on lap one, and you just didn't look back, and you are the champion of St. Croix. So big congratulations, my friend, and go celebrate hard as we conclude our broadcast here, as we're going to bring in the driver of the day. In my opinion, I would definitely gonna give it, and I can't fathom this. The driver of the day has well deservedly is going to be Osto 101 in my opinion. That he is my driver of the day. A great performance by the Ned Racer just to keep that car in front of him, going consistency with lap after lap, setting fastest lap, trading lap times with Kutch 426, and in the end, just too good over the Black Rose Racer car 426 in Kutch 426. And he is my driver of the day. But as we look towards the polls, that we have the driver of the week that goes to Rock Lobby in Ando 787 for WTCC, taking a commanding victory in Brock Lobby. So both Ando and Osto taking comfortable victories for round three of the Surefire Supercar Series. That is the end of our broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to the YouTube channel of MotorMotion E-Series, presenting to you the Surefire Supercars Camaro versus Mustang. We cannot wait to bring you all the action at Road Atlanta. 70 minutes and 40 odd laps around Road Atlanta, the newest inclusion to the platform Gran Turismo 7. We cannot wait to see these cars go around that tight, twisty track. Overtakes will be very hard, but strategy will be key for our drivers. But until then, I'd like to thank the sponsors